what meditation does for you is the ability to drop into the present moment and take note of what you are perceiving through your senses. Even if your mind's going crazy, even if your body feels uncomfortable, that's still what you're taking in through your senses. And that's really what channeling and tuning into your psychic abilities is about, is noticing what is coming through your sensory information.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host. My name is Karolina, and I am the connection catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Jesse Siddeek, the psychic medium and the therapist. Welcome to the show, Jesse. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you doing?
I am doing really funny, actually, because of all these technical issues that Mercury is putting on my way today, especially in the conversation with you. So I'm feeling really high on love and high on light right now. Just in love with the universe. So I'm feeling great. And I'm super excited for our conversation because I just love talking to psychic mediums because it's just a lot out there that they can perceive and see and feel that, regular muggles cannot. Or just regular people. So yeah, it's really exciting for me to talk to you. So I would like to start with a little bit of a backstory and your journey, because I'm curious if you have always been a psychic medium or if it started to develop later, or, because also, of course, everyone is born with some psychic abilities, but then we are suppressed in this. But I'm super curious how it has evolved for you specifically.
Yeah, yes. And I totally agree with you that we all have these abilities. And for me, my journey has been learning how to honor my gifts in an environment that doesn't necessarily support them or encourage the use of them. And for my personal journey, I turned my gifts off when I was 6, just because of the overwhelm that I was feeling and just wanting to protect myself, really not understanding why things were so intense for me and not really knowing why anyone else was talking about this or like being truthful around their emotions or feelings. And so I turned them off when I was 6 and just honestly completely forgot about them until I was around 25. I went to a psychic medium myself, and at the end of our session, she told me about my gifts, and she said that it was really important. Yeah, so that led me onto this journey of what my gifts look like, how I want to use them.
That's perfect. And so, did you experience some opening up when you had a session with her?
So it took a while. It took a while to actually really open up to them and to start releasing any sort of shame or fear around using them. So I actually started working with her. I would see her a couple weeks out of the month, and she would do earnings on me and was helping me learn how to channel information and to meditate, and was kind of like a mentor situation. But it's like a delayering process, so it takes some time.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And also to develop all your abilities, it takes some time because you have all these different things you can see, you can feel, you can sense. And so to develop and to explore the wholeness of yourself, it actually takes time. And so what made you decide to go on this path to actually become a psychic medium? Like, what was the decision-making point where you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do in my life?
Yeah, to boil it down, it felt right. It felt intuitively aligned. It felt like a part of me that had been suppressed for a very long time finally had a voice. And once I was able to put name to that, there was no turning back.
Okay. And when did it happen?
It was, oh goodness, it was in 2019 when I had the first reading. And it was actually on my father's 10-year death anniversary. That was why I originally went to see the psychic, and I wanted to connect with my dad. And so we had a reading, and then it just opened up all this stuff.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's amazing. I love that. I love that story. And so you're also a therapist, so you have some background in like a mental health and so on. And so how do you combine the being the medium with the being a therapist? Like, do you sometimes do the sessions that are like combined, or is it like a separate thing and you never really put it together?
Currently in my business, I have psychic therapy where I am helping people do the same thing that this psychic helped me do, but it's under the foundations of therapy. So I started my own business because I wanted to combine the two worlds. Previously, when I was in grad school and was working in a private practice, I felt like I had to keep that side of myself hidden. And it was really draining on me to be taking in all of this sensory information and having to pretend like it wasn't in the room with us. And some clients were open, and I would kind of tiptoe around it a little bit, see if they were interested or if it was energetically aligned. And other clients were just closed off to it, which is, you know, completely fine. But for me personally, I wanted to be in a space where I can be open about what I was intuiting. And I also started to notice that the people that were drawn to me were people that were craving the same experience I had of wanting to be seen and heard in their abilities.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you always attract the clients that actually need your service the most. So when you have gone through this journey of discovering yourself as a psychic medium, you can now guide people who are there where you have been before, which is really, really beautiful. I love that. And so what is the, let's say, the most interesting experience that you have had as a psychic in terms of like perception from other realms? Or what was your favorite experience so far?
That that's such a good question because there's just so many like beautiful experiences. Honestly, I think it's when there's this moment that, and it's not like any sort of like seeing ghosts or anything wild, because like that definitely happens. But for me, what fills me up the most is those moments when my clients didn't that they had abilities or didn't think that they were able to channel will actually channel in a session, and I can see like spirit just pouring into them, and they have this like aha moment of, oh my gosh, like you were telling me that I'm psychic this whole time, but like now I actually believe you. And like I understand. I had a client who was really connected to her grandmother, and was going through some really serious mental health. You know, she had been diagnosed with bipolar, and in my opinion, heavy mental issues, of us living in an environment that doesn't allow us to be in our bodies and allow us to understand how we truly work as souls and our psychic abilities. And so when that client was able to be more present in her body and was able to communicate with her grandma in a way that she was craving and was doing through me, it was just really cool when we got into a meditation, and then she was like, oh yeah, my grandma's right here and she's saying this. And that
Oh.
was just such a beautiful moment. Yeah. So there's definitely like weird and wild things that come through. But for me, what I find like the most rewarding is when people actually are able to channel themselves.
That's amazing. So how do you guide people to be the channel themselves? What can you tell? What can you do?
Yes.
What do you tell them?
Yes. And it's, again, it's such a process. Like it takes time, and you really have to be able to create safety in your own body, because we are so used to pulling our souls up and out of our bodies, because being fully present is very uncomfortable. It means that you have to feel things that we don't necessarily want to feel and we're taught to suppress. So what I say is find those practices that allow you to create safety in your body, and what helps you give yourself permission to listen to yourself, because those messages are always there. It's just that we are so used to dismissing our intuitive knowledge that when it's coming in, we don't even understand that that's what it is.
So I have a question to you, because there are different methods we can use to actually connect to our soul and to hear the messages of the spirit or of all these different energies that we can bring into our existence and channel them. So do you have any specific practices or meditations or just anything that can help people really connect to their own channel inside?
Yeah. So again, there's so many different ways to go about this, and I believe it's very unique to the individual and the experiences that we've been through and what our gifts are. But what I will say, the most consistent thing that you can do is meditate every single day. And I know that there are some people out there that have a really hard time meditating, and what meditation does for you is the ability to drop into the present moment and take note of what you are perceiving through your senses. Even if your mind's going crazy, even if your body feels uncomfortable, that's still what you're taking in through your senses. And that's really what channeling and tuning into your psychic abilities is about, is noticing what is coming through your sensory information. And so if you're able to take stock of like, wow, I'm feeling a lot of emotions, and I don't think that these emotions are necessarily mine. You might be someone who's clairsentient, the ability to feel emotions that are not yours. If you notice that there's really loud ringing in your ears, or you're hearing almost like someone speaking to you might be clairaudient. It's just kind of learning the different ways that you take in sensory information and allowing your mind to turn off from stimulation and just drop into the present moment. So we'll say meditation is key, but doesn't always necessarily work for people. So if you can get into states where maybe you're physically doing something and you're kind of exerting that energy out, but your mind is going on autopilot. So I say like cleaning or driving or anything that's sort of giving your body a task, or going on a walk. It's giving your body a task, but it's allowing your mind to be open. That's also a really great way to get into a meditative state that allows information to come through. Those are also spaces for me where I get a lot of downloads and channeled information. So I'd say the biggest thing is setting up your energy so spirit can flow through you. And then, of course, there are other practices that you could do. Again, I mentioned, I think movement is really great. Any sort of healing rituals, as far as like, I love sound baths. That's a great way to clear out energy and kind of get into your body. And I will also say too, it's usually the thing that you are most drawn to and can't understand why is what you're needing to do in order to step into your gifts more.
Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, so for me, I was really drawn to tarot at the beginning of tapping into my gifts. And I liked tarot because it was giving me a physical representation of what I was channeling. And it was also almost like, I kind of thought of it as like training wheels. So I had sort of this like physical crutch to rely on, because channeling information really requires you to trust what is not tangible, to trust what is just coming through, and it feels like you're just pulling it out of thin air. And so tarot was a really nice way for me to start to learn to trust my intuition, because I could just rely on what the cards were saying. And I had developed a really special relationship with these cards. I understood what the energy was of each of these cards, so that when I pulled them, I was like, okay, this is what's going on. And it helped build confidence in me to share that. And I think people also like to have a physical representation of things. Some people work very visually, so that works for people like that.
That's perfect. And so you believe that everyone has psychic abilities and everyone can awaken them. But have you ever had a client that was just like so logical and so scientific and so just like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Enneagram, but it would be like a 5 Enneagram type. It's like an observer, like very just white or black or just this or that and just very logical. Have you ever brought someone like this to awaken to their psychic abilities?
Yeah, so I actually just got a new client that is very similar to that, and that they're really into like the scientific method and the scientific process, and that's something that it's hard for them to step away from from that. I will say this client is very new, so I don't know them very intimately as I might with other clients, but we just had our second session today and already they were channeling information, and it was just kind of them learning to trust it.
Yeah, I feel like the trust is the biggest point in here, because even me, at the beginning of my spiritual development, I was always looking for someone to like tell me how to feel or what to do or what to see, or comparing myself on my visions or my experiences to others. But then I learned like, okay, I just am the soul and I can just receive the information from anything in many different ways, because sometimes I can see something, sometimes I can hear something, sometimes I can smell something, whatever, like, something that really reminds me of something else, and then it connects the dots, and it's perfect, because we are entangled in this beautiful web of the universe, so we can receive information in so many different ways. But for the people who still have this let's say issue with trust, when it comes to the information that they are getting, how to discern from your perspective between the mind and the soul, like what's coming from where? Because I feel like that's also the trust that we need to build, that trusting that this information is coming from our heart or from our higher self or from the beings that we're actually like connecting to, rather than from our mind. Because so how do you discern that?
Yes, I love talking about this because it's so layered, and again, it's so fine-tuned to each of us. And so that looks different for everyone, except for, I will say, there are always commonalities in, like, I like to discern between what is intuitive and what is anxious. And so there's always commonalities in an anxious thought. And so when you have an anxious thought, I like to think of it as an email chain. And so you open that email, and then there's going to be 10 other emails that pop from that original one. Or it's like having a bunch of tabs open in your web browser. It's like you open one and then you click on another link and then another link. And so an anxious thought is always going to pull you out of the present moment. You're going to start like future projecting. And it's going to be based in fear. It's going to be based in lack. It's going to be based in survival. Whereas an intuitive thought will rise to the surface and it will feel more located sort of in your body. It'll feel more grounded in your body. It's going to step in, it's going to tell you what it needs to tell you, and then it backs out. So it's very much of like, this is what you need to know. It's very confident, it's very direct, and then it steps back. Whereas anxiety is like, I need to think of all of these different factors. I need to control all of this stuff that is going on to mitigate the impact of this decision that I'm about to make, or mitigate the impact of what I'm feeling. And so both of these feelings have a different energetic resonance. And the more that you start to set the intention to listen to that confident, strong voice, the easier it becomes to listen to it. And I will say the way that I have actually learned how to listen to my intuition is by getting it wrong. Because that's what you remember. It's like, oh my gosh, I remember that I had that in my intuition came in and I chose not to listen to it. And that was what you needed to do at that time, because now it's serving you. So you can understand when you're in a similar situation, it's like, oh, this is my intuition. And even though I have no tangible proof that this is the choice I need to make, I'm learning to trust it and I'm learning to go with it.
Perfect. I love that. I feel like I also learned a lot when I didn't listen to my intuition. It's like, oh shit, I should have listened to this inner voice. Next time I will be more tuned into it, because now I know how it feels, right? So yeah, yes. I'm with you when it comes to that, to learning on your own mistakes, and also not being able to, not being afraid to fail as well. If your intuition or if what you're getting is wrong, so what if it's wrong? Maybe next time you're gonna get it right, and then you're gonna, all these amazing things and circumstances in your life are going to follow based on the attunement that you got, based on the mistakes that you've made. So it's beautiful that you say that, because I feel like people are so scared of making mistakes that then they're like, oh, I was like that. It's like, oh, what if it's not the message from my soul? What if it's just my ego? What if I'm going to be guided somewhere where I don't want to be? But it's like, even if you go with your ego, it's still your soul's growth to go through this, to go with your ego and then to realize, oh, okay, this is not it. So even then it's like a beautiful lesson lesson and beautiful thing that you can experience. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And I have a question, because I know that you are an author of the Sacred Feminine, and I wanted to ask, what does Sacred Feminine mean to you?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's everything that we've encapsulated in this conversation so far, of just like the permission to make mistakes, the permission to be your authentic self and to share your voice. And really, I would say most of all, me being in touch with my feminine is being in my body and is honoring my body's needs, what my body is communicating with me. There's so much wisdom stored in our bodies, and there is so much power when we are connected to our bodies, because we realize that yes, our bodies may be temporary, but it's also the safest place that we can be, because then we're reminded that we have this higher power that's guiding us. And so for me, the sacred feminine is really just being within and knowing the sacredness of being embodied.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful, because you need to be embodied and you need to be grounded, and you need to have all the chakras that are here on earth open to be able to also fly high in the universe and really develop the higher chakras, right? Because if there is no balance, you're gonna just lose yourself in a way, and it's not going to really serve you, because you cannot just develop one and not develop the other, because yeah, the imbalance of energy will be massive. But yeah, I love what you're saying, the sacred feminine is just being in your body. And I feel like also, to me, what it means, sacred feminine, is like finding our own way of self-expression in the world, because like there is so much of masculine power and masculine schemes of thinking or doing things or whatever, right? There's so much masculinity in our system now, and it's not like it's wrong, but it's sometimes that we cannot fit our feminine embodiment, our feminine energy into what was already created there, and we need to tweak it in a way to actually be able to express ourselves for who we are. And I feel like the sacred feminine knows that and doesn't push herself to fit into the masculine schemes or masculine way of doing things, if it doesn't serve. If it's just, if we want to just go with our feminine flow and not be like so structured and direct and whatever, we just need to go with what our body and intuition and our feminine energy tells us to do, and really bring this intuition, bring the heart, and bring the joy, because these are the chakras of feminine energy, right? The sacral chakra, the joy, the pleasure, the heart, the compassion, forgiveness, love, understanding, and then the third eye, the really intuitive side of us. So if we as women can really bring this to the table and inspire men to also like see the world in this way, I feel like that's also bringing the sacred feminine in our embodiment and into our existence. So yeah, just wanted to share my perspective on it.
No, I love that. And they weave in together really beautifully as well. I think there's like always common themes of what the sacred feminine looks like, but then it's expressed in a way that feels good to us. So that's what I love about it.
And what about sacred masculine? What would you say about that?
Yeah, sacred masculine. I mean that, and again, I really focus so much on being in my sacred feminine, I would say, as I've like stepped into my gifts more, and I'm realizing how much stepping into my sacred feminine was actually also healing my masculine. And that before, I'm someone who really likes structure, and someone who, without even intentionally creating structure, has created it. I think like my astrology chart speaks to that. But for me, it's like creating these structures so that we can have this side of us that flows. And it's giving permission to contain and hold with unconditional love.
Yeah, I totally vibe with that, because if you want to, for example, have freedom, like I want to have freedom, I want to travel everywhere, and it's my feminine energy, just experiencing life, like, being everywhere, going to Greece, going to Spain, whatever. But then if I didn't have a structure, let's say in my business, to actually earn money to be able to do that, it's like, yeah, I can have all this feminine energy to be being expressed, but if I don't actually get some things done in a masculine way, or more masculine way, let's say, than just being in my flow and joy and just adventure time, then nothing would be expressed, neither my feminine nor my masculine, because there would be no integration between the both, and I wouldn't be able to travel, to do all these things that I want to do from my
Yeah.
feminine side if the masculine wasn't there. So I feel like it's really
Yeah.
important to find the ways how it serves you as a person, like what is aligned for you to do and not to do, because sometimes I feel like some people are more familiar with the energy of feminine or masculine energy, and it's more safe for them. And but really, what serves you the most? Like maybe you can stretch a little bit to this side or stretch a little bit to that side to really find the
Yeah.
beautiful dance between them, so that you take action from the aligned dance of these energies and not go one
Yes.
or the other, because it's probably not going to work. I mean, at some point, because even
Yeah.
though you can be massively in your feminine and you might have let's say a partner who is in his masculine, like if you don't find this dance within yourself, then you're so dependent and you're so attached to the outer things or people or whatever it is that you're seeking this energy from, that I feel like it's so important to find it within and to balance it out so much that you can really get shit done and be in your flow at the same time. Like that's my perspective on it.
Yes, and what's coming up for me too is just like the protection of that too, is like what you create through the structure is almost this protection for your like sacred to flow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as you said, it's like containment. It's like you can contain your own, flows, or your own just joy, or whatever you want to do there. And it's really beautiful to find this dance. And yeah, I just really want to inspire everyone who listens to find this dance within and really see if there's any imbalance in the energies. And then what can we do to bring the balance more, to combine these energies? Do you have any tips for people to maybe explore their sacred feminine side more, or sacred masculine, or both actually?
Yeah. And again, I will always say it's like what is in the back of your head that maybe you're not giving yourself permission is probably your next step. But if you're having a harder time figuring out like how to step into your divine masculine or feminine, or even just explore what that means for you, you have a set of spirits that are with you, your spirit guides, your spirit team, however people call them, angels, it's whatever works for you. You have a set of souls that are contracted to hang out with you in this lifetime and help you along this journey, and they are here protecting you, they are here guiding you, but they also need energetic permission from you. And so while you're on this journey of self-development and spirituality, if you're ever unsure of what your next step is, call them in and ask them and say, please send me something that is going to help me take that first step. And they will continue to send you breadcrumbs. And again, the more that you are present in the moment, which is not always easy, the easier it's going to become to interpret these signs. And they will send you people that you're meant to work with. They will send you friends and support systems. They will send you, they will send you whatever you're needing, because they understand you inside and out. They're connected to your energy. So I will say that is a really great way, is talk to your spirit guides, talk to your spirit team. Even if you, I think a lot of people hesitate to connect with their spirit guides because it's like, well, I can't see them, I should see them. I don't see my spirit guides. There are some people out there that do, but for me, it's just, I know that they're there. I can feel them energetically and I trust them.
Mhm.
And so I would say like that's really a good way to find out what's most aligned for you on that journey, and really with anything. I mean, I see my spirit guides as my personal assistant. So if like I don't know what direction I need to take, which has been a really big common theme in my life lately, I just ask them, like, communicate with me, send me a specific sign, I will ask for a specific sign. And that is a really great way for you to understand what your next steps are.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. This has been really, really great. I love this conversation. And so I have one last quick question for you. If someone, would like to know more about you and see your content and know what you're about and connect to you, what's the best way to do this?
Yeah, so my website has everything. It's just my full name, jessesiddeek.com. That's where you can book readings. It's where you can do the psychic therapy if anyone is interested in that. I do have an Instagram, but I would say where I'm most active is TikTok. So I put channeled messages out on TikTok, and I talk about things that maybe the mainstream isn't talking about. So that's probably the best way to connect with me.
That's beautiful. Thank you so, so much for sharing yourself with us and for your beautiful energy and your input. This has been really great to talk to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.